Hey there, we are back. Hi, there we are. We're getting really, really close to being almost done with this website stuff. Like functionally, I think we're about there. Um, in between this morning's stream and now, I went and turned all of those notes that we made in the Notepad document into GitHub issues. And I think those are hanging around up here, right here. And I added a little bit of extra, or I changed out the content on the homepage for the site. And I moved the stuff that I did have here over to the intro post. And that's dated today. We have tags. Yeah. Do we have? Oh, we're running in our terminal. Good. So just before I push that stuff up to GitHub and start that process, let's take a look at this. I must have gone silly. I introduced blah, 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 blah. All that stuff, live coding, mistakes, learning process. Good, that's all working. And otherwise, I haven't made any styling or infrastructural changes to the website at all. Just a little bit of content massaging. Excuse me. So here's all this, plain vanilla, just text. And let's get started by coming over to code, doing the source control dance, updated the text on the index page, moved the old content into an article. Commit. Sync. Yes, do the thing. And let's just keep our eyes peeled on that process, because as soon as it finishes, we'll be able to create a new branch from main and we'll start working through these issues. But I want to make sure that the changes that I made over the lunch break get up to the live site, and then we'll get started with that stuff. So here we are here. My wife suggested that I find some free or copyright free or Creative Commons free music to play in the background underneath all of my jabbering and stammering and such, just to kind of fill in some of the silence when I'm doing the and the making my frustrated Witcher noises. And that's actually a pretty good idea. I'll be looking into that maybe later today or perhaps over the weekend or something like that. And then when we jump into the new project that we're going to start early next week, I'll have, something to fill in the dead airspace while I'm scratching my head and pulling my hair out and stuff like that. So this is almost done. There it is. Good. Let's go back to the issues page. I'm going to pop a tab real quick. Go to the website. And hi, I'm that developer dad. Blah, 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 blah. Also buy me a coffee. So on. There's all the new content. Great topics. Mistakes, live coding, learning process. Those are all in there. Cool. Okay, that's up to date. Let's jump back into VS Code and click here. We'll create a new branch from main. And let's call it feature slash styling improvements. There we go. And there's no sense to publish it yet. I suspect that most of the work that we're going to be doing as we work on these styling improvements is going to happen in the layouts, the components, and quite possibly down in our style sheet. But we'll see how it shakes out. Let's start off by going back to GitHub. And page headers are visually unpleasant on mobile. I think they're also visually unpleasant on desktop as well. But I'm really not in love with that at all. Especially when it starts bouncing out here. It's especially egregious on when we go to load one of the blog articles. So let's pick on that one first. All right, page headings look awful. And just so that we can see what we're talking about, we'll enter responsive design mode, load an iPhone 15 for the simulator, and see. Oh, I forgot to share my screens. I'm still unmedicated because I forgot to take my meds at lunch. And yeah, so I'm kind of a hot mess right now. Well, no, not really a hot mess, but okay. So this looks absolutely awful. We've got all of this crap here, and all I wanted to do was read the article, and I have to deal with all this front matter. Here's where the article starts. So let's start cleaning that up a little bit. First thing we need to do is clean up this page header stuff. I really don't love that at all. Okay, back here, we'll get out of responsive design mode in Safari, and I'll sit up straight. And let's take a look at what's going on with this element here. That lives in the header component. No, it doesn't live in the header component. That lives in the base layout.astro. Here we are. I think first off, we probably want to do that. Get rid of that. Save it, and let's see if that's given us any improvements. So home, articles, article tag index. We got to fix that. Article tag index, and we need to fix in here. That's not article tag index. This is topics index. Let's take a peek. That's much better. And Mrs. is out running errands. And she's sending me messages. Do I want some nectarines? Sure. Scurvy is bad. Let's avoid scurvy. All right, so this is a little better. I'm disliking it a whole lot less. Topics, not bad. Articles, home. Okay, that's not bad. However, I think we can get better. I didn't want Edge. Go away. I clicked the wrong thing. I think instead of putting that in a big giant H1, we could size the H1s down. That's probably better. So for that, we'll come down to our global CSS. H1, font size. Let's knock this down to 2.0 REMs. See if that tightened things up at all. Start here. That's a little less hideous and obtrusive. Yeah? Yeah, that ain't bad. All right, we could roll with that. And I think as far as page headers are visually unpleasant, I'm actually pretty okay with those changes. Let's take one more quick look at the code. Super fast. Header, H1 page title, slot, footer, script, yeah. Okay, yeah, I think we're in a pretty good place here at this stage of the game. We can leave that developer dad page title up in the title bar. That's fine where it is. I think we're good. So, removed the domain name from the H1 page title part of the base layout. Also dropped the font size for H1 elements by 0.5 REM in global.css. Issue ID is #1. I think that's 1. Is it number 1? It is number 1. Great. Okay. And let's commit. And we will push this commit up to our GitHub server. Now, we're not going to do a pull request yet, so it's not going to do any kind of automatic updates or anything like that. Here we go, and let's see if we can associate this with, here we go. We've just associated this issue with this branch. Great. And we can see that over here. Good, good, good. We're one commit ahead of main. It's fine. Let's take a look. Yeah. We can merge if we want. We're not gonna. Not for a while yet. But we're in a good spot. I want to come down here and see if we can add a status to it. It doesn't look like it. But cool. We do see that I added a commit that referenced the issue 1 minute ago. And there it is. Let's go back and pick the next thing. And I don't want to mess with positioning yet, because anybody that's done CSS positioning knows that it is absolutely a recipe for migraines. I do want to apply the enhancement label to those two elements. Did it work? It worked. Okay, so let's start with the easy stuff. Markdown article layout changes. These bullet points are super easy. Change title to show only the title of the post. Experiment with tightening up the vertical real estate for each article's metadata display. Published on and written by need to go on a single line. Move the topics list in the articles to the bottom. Okay, we're going to do the last one first. And each one of these points I think we'll do as a separate commit. We'll drop that and we'll come over to Markdown article layout. Topics. Let's take this, cut that, we'll drop it in here, and I want to add a horizontal rule. Excuse me. Topics in this article. And I think rather than do a BR, let's do an H3 just to see how it looks. And if it's ugly, we'll switch it back. It's just code. Everything's temporary. Can make GitHub. I'm just going to pull this guy over here. Do this. Let's come into an article. And I must have gone silly. That's a whole lot better. I like that quite a lot. Yeah. Yeah. Let's go back to topics and look at architecture. Oh, that fixed things up nicely. Estimates. Oh, heck yeah. That's lovely. I like that a lot. I think we're going to keep it. We might shade the background of this this div a little bit. Let's experiment with that. Come over here, and div class equals tags. Okay, so down here in tags, display flex, flex wrap, background color. Let's go with this A1. No, I think we're using that elsewhere. Let's go with pound C1. And like a dope, background color, fix the syntax, save that, take a look. Not in love with it. And also we need to bring that up to include this part. So let's take a look at the code. Topics in this article. We're going to do this with a new div that we're going to wrap all the way around this stuff. Like so. Pop that in by a couple of spaces. And class equals I want to give this a slightly more generic meta content container. I like that. Now, our meta content container class, whoops, I'm going to copy that. And instead of defining that down here, well, first we'll define it here. Dot meta content container. We're going to pull this from there, drop it in here to start. Let's see how that looks. That's better. That's a little better. Now, we're a little too tight to the edges of this gray square. And I also think it's a little bit jarring to just have that gray square smack up against the white background. It doesn't look great. And our horizontal rules are a little cheesy. So let's fix the spacing between the edge of the square or the edge of the rectangle and the content inside first. And for that, we're going to set the CSS padding attribute. Padding. And I want to use, let's start with one. Are we using EMs or REMs? We're using EMs here and there. Let's start with one. That's going to be way, way too much, but I want to get a visual of how it looks with the padding. So yes, it's better, but it's way too much. Let's pull this back a bit, and I think we're going to want less padding on the inside or on the top and bottom than we have around the sides. So for that, these elements that deal with dimensions around an element, if you just specify one thing, it applies it to top, bottom, left, and right, or sorry, top, right, bottom, left. If we specify two, do we need commas? It doesn't look like it. Nope. So we can go 1 EM, and that's one on the top and bottom. So the first parameter is top, bottom. Second parameter is left, right. If we do 4, It's top, right, bottom, left. It goes clockwise starting from the top. Now, our padding on top and bottom, that's a little too much. Way too much. So let's take this down to 0.25. A quarter of an EM. We'll leave the side to side as 1 because I thought that looked okay. And let's see how that affected our stuff. So that's actually live withable. I don't mind that at all. There's still way too much here above the topics in this article bit. Let's see if there are any other styles here that are causing that to happen. H1 margin is there. I think we'll just leave it. Or yeah, we're going to leave it. Definitely. We'll leave it alone. However, what I'd like to do is let's add border solid 1px black border radius. We're going to go with 0.25 EM. Save that. And let's see what that did for us. That's all right. My personal taste is to round that rectangle a little bit more. Let's just for laughs, let's bring it to 1. I think that's going to be too much, but we'll see. Actually, that's not. That is really unterrible. I don't hate that a bit. But this horizontal rule just above there, that's got to go. That's just visual noise at this point. So let's come up here, get rid of it. And all right, that's way better. That's way, way, way better. Much more betterer. Now, I think I kind of want to do this with like the rounded rectangle and the gray. I want to do that up top with at least this part. Yeah. Yeah, I think so. So let's take a look at our code. And I don't think we're going to be using this concept of what I've called meta content outside of our articles. So okay, we're not going to be able to wrap the heading in a div. But what we can do and I think the only thing that we want to wrap here is this this description. Let's just apply the class equals meta content. Container. Save that, see what we get. That's somewhat better. We're getting there. Now, I've said that HRs are looking janky here and there, and they do when they're overused, but I think I want to drop an HR down here, just above the top header on the article. So we'll pop that in. Just above the slot where the article content comes in. Save that. Preview. All right, we're getting there. We're getting there. And how do we want to lay this out? In the past, I've used tables. I think. Okay, let's keep this simple. We're not going to use a paragraph for this. Let's try something. Excuse me. Div. First, we'll just set up a div. And we'll drop these two things in here. Now, while we're experimenting, style equals that. Let's see if this changes anything. All right, so there's that. Published on, written by. I think I want to reverse the order of those and get rid of the published on and written by labels. There's no need for those. Let's do this. Get rid of that. Whoop. Do this. And as we're doing this, I realize that we have overcomplicated all the stuff. We don't need that. So we'll pop over here. All right. I do want to put this in italics. And that's going to be an attribution. Let's come over to global CSS. We've got emphasized, quotation, dot attribution, font style is going to be italic. We'll come back over here. P. class equals attribution. Save that. Now, we probably don't need this div that we're using here, but I'm going to leave it there for a second until I figure out whether or not, you know what? Now that this is starting to take shape, I'm questioning the idea of putting these on the same line, because in just a second I'm going to try to figure out how to send this all the way over to the right, and I also want to tuck this up underneath a little more tightly. Let's do some figuring. So when we're using a flexbox, the question is, and here comes Copilot, when using a flexbox in CSS, how can I align its child elements against the right edge? I don't use CSS, I don't use Flexbox a whole lot, but okay, so let's just create a dot right aligned. A little skeptical about that. No, I want all. No, I don't. No, never mind. So dot right. Let's grab this. Whoops. Copy that. Bring this into here. I'm going to paste it. I'm going to change this to right aligned. Save that. Pull it over here. P class attribution right aligned. Save. And let's see what that did for us. I like it. That's better. And now, yes, we definitely want these on separate lines. Yeah. Back to the template. Instead of this, I'm going to do a line break. Drop that. And because we now have a container element with multiple lines in it instead of a container element with a single line, let's see. Not bad. I kind of like that. Now let's see if we can squish this up so that it's tucked up underneath the right underneath the metadata stuff. Or just for giggles, Thinking. What if we cut that, paste it in here, move this class, cut that out of there, put it in the surrounding container. I am unlikely to bring images back in to these articles. I want to pull all this stuff down and outdent it by 1. Save. Let's see what it did. That ain't bad. That ain't bad at all. Let's see if we can get it a little better. So if we do this, comment that, comment this. See if that tightened us up at all. Yes, but nah. We want to, actually that didn't tighten us up at all, did it? Let's get rid of that. Come up in here. Toggle that block content. We can get rid of the horizontal rule there because we're getting our visual boundaries in place from this paragraph here. And things are starting to look a whole lot tidier. Much, much, much tidier. I quite like it. Let's see how it looks on mobile. Go to the articles. Let's take a look at estimating is terrible. That's still a little bit too big on mobile. I don't know about you, but I'd be annoyed if I had to sit through that stuff before I got to the actual content. Though having the topics down here is way, way, way better. If we create a style called article lead-in up here, no, we're not going to call it article lead-in. That's far too functionally far too bound to functional context. Hide on mobile, display none. And then I'm going to grab this, go down to the area where we're overriding it for larger screens. Change that to display block. We're going to grab this class, come up into our article markdown, but only this one. Paste it there, save it. Now let's see. We still have it on the desktop version, but I bet if we crank that over, yes, it goes away. And then in our simulate, yes, this is good. This is much, much better. Here we go. That's good. I am pleased about this. Okay. Let's take a look at our GitHub issue for this. Change title to show only the title of the post. We got it. Whoa, goodness, what did I do? Experiment with tightening up the vertical real estate for each article's metadata display. I think we nailed it. Published on and written by need to go on a single line. No, they don't. But we got rid of the labeling for those fields, and I think that now looks a whole lot better. And then move the topics list in the articles, like in the actual article rendering, to the bottom. And we succeeded in that. Let's check it in. Click here. Made most of the layout and styling suggestions in the GitHub issue with ID number what? I forgot the number. 10. What am I doing? What are you doing, Rob? GitHub issue number 10. We did move the author and pub dates items onto a single line. That didn't look great. So we left each on their own line. Metadata is now hidden on mobile. And I did that wrong. I totally did that wrong. I put this on the wrong element because we still want to show our author and publication date on mobile. We just don't need that big honkin' description. So what we'll do is we'll move this down to hide on mobile. Let's see what that does for us. Not this window. this one. Okay, we're still here. We're good. Pull this down to narrow. That looks like crap. That looks like garbage. I do not like it. Pull this over here. Yeah, that looks like garbage. I don't like it at all. Let's see. What if we move this, the attribution, up and out of this metadata so that it's just above the metadata or just above the description? Let's try that. So we will go like this. I want to do this. Cut that. Paste it here. Move this back up into the container. We can get rid of this class, this empty class attribute. Save that. Let's see what that did for us. It's a little too far over. But I really don't hate the, you know? See how it looks on another article. I must have gone silly. I could live with this. I could totally live with this. Yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I think I like it. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and continue with our check-in because we're almost out of time. Article description is now hidden on mobile. Yeah. Topics list is now below the article content. Let's commit. We're going to sync our changes. Okay. And it's doing the thing. Well, it's not doing the thing, but it's doing a thing. And here we go. Added a commit that referenced this issue. I like it. And let's not actually issue this as the pull request yet. I'd like to get a couple more of these issues knocked out before we do that pull request. So markdown article layout changes. I think we got it. Page headers are visually unpleasant on mobile. We got it. I think tomorrow morning we are going to look into enhancing our social component. That's going to be our focus. I want to get icons for the different social media platforms that I'm linked to. I want to set it so that I can drop that social media component elsewhere throughout the site, like perhaps on the articles page, right in here, and either display them as a vertical list or a horizontal list of just the icons. And then down here, we would have icon and text for each, again horizontally. But I also want the flexibility to be able to add, say, like a vertical list somewhere, not necessarily in the body of the article text, but somewhere in the region of this stuff, and have it look good both on desktop and mobile. So yeah, tomorrow we're going to look at doing that social media component enhancement. I need to look up where I can get my grubby little fingers on those icons. And I will also look up doing the CSS for unordered lists and their list items so that we can do horizontal versus vertical with a class and set that class based off of a parameter that will add to our social media component. So I got to do a little bit of homework tonight. I'll make some notes. I don't expect it to take me too long. But yeah, I'll have the knowledge to be able to do this tomorrow, and this is how we will spend our morning session, is getting these socials looking better. All right, it's 2:00. It is time for me to say good afternoon to you all. I am, again, that developer dad, and be kind to yourselves. This stuff is hard enough without beating the snot out of ourselves every time we goof up. And they are just electrons. A little bit of thinking, a little bit of research, maybe go take a walk, and you'll come back with a fresh head and figure it out.